Hello, I'm James, and I'm an old guy in Europe. Hello, and welcome to another episode of An Old Guy in Europe. On the Good Morning Portugal Show in November of 2022, I talked with Carl Munson about science and logic being separated from religion, the incorporating of pagan celebration into religious celebration, maintaining an open mind, learning Portuguese, and faking it till you make it. So once again, I invite you please to simply sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Swing. Good
Bom
morning.
dia.
Hi, James. How are you?
Hola, bon dia, James. It's keep calm and carry on moving to Portugal. Mindful Migration Mondays. That's quite a mouthful.
Holy smokes. That's
It is
longer than
like-
my slug names.
And that's long. That's long.
Yes.
Well, we did promise everybody that you and I would have a conversation in Portuguese. So, hola, bon dia, amigo. Como estás?
Tudo bem, obrigado. E tu?
Muito bem, obrigado. Eu estou a bom fim de semana, está bem?
Sim, mais ou menos.
Eu estou constipado.
My mind goes to English. What? No.
I think we did pretty well there. Should we extend on that a little bit more next week? Not bad. I think Antonio F will be assessing us, and I think we did fairly well there.
I think we did all right. I realized I used a long O and I should have used a U in one of the words. It's like by then it's too late.
So quick
It's
to
gone.
judge. Oh my goodness! Oh wow! But that was great. We will extend each week when we see each other.
Well, I actually spent a little time thinking about it this morning because I've shared before that I do an app called Drops, and I also do flashcards that I've constructed myself every morning before I even get out of bed. And as I was going through them today, I said, oh, there's a lot of things I can say that follow up Bon Dia that I just forget that I've got,
Yes.
Where do you live, and even now I'm forgetting, I had probably 10 or 15 things. Oh, I could use that. I could use that. I could use that. So they're there. They just don't get used a lot. And that's
What's your
why we
star sign?
practice.
What's your star sign would be great, wouldn't it?
There you go.
Yeah. So patterns, James. I think you might like to look at a moon occasionally. And what was anything resonating for you in the conversation that you were just witness to in the green room there?
Well, we're talking about astrology, or you were talking about astrology being a tool, and the thought came to me that just because you have a socket wrench doesn't mean you should be repairing your car.
Oh, okay. Go on, expand on that.
Well, just the idea that, exactly the purpose of a tool generally has a fairly specific purpose. And if you're not competent at using it, you don't know how to use it, then trying to use it, pretending that, it's to blow up balloons, it's like it's not going to work. And I think that's one of the things that has happened to science and astrology and pagan belief systems and all of it. I used to think that issues, and this is a long time ago, back when I was, I don't know, not even in my 20s yet, probably, that I thought that acupressure and acupuncture were just hocus pocus fooey and all this energy blocking and all this stuff people were talking about. I said, that's just a bunch of folklore. But again, I've also talked about science. One of the beautiful things I appreciate about science is that very often it comes after the phenomena. The thing is happening. People don't understand why it's happening. Then science develops the capacity to study it in a way that they begin to understand it. Yes. And all of a sudden, acupressure is point systems in the nervous system that create different chemical, electrical things that happen in the body. Well, call it energy flow, call it whatever you want. The function is essentially the same. So that's just one of the many things I love about the capacity to understand more deeply the things that are going on. Now and because of anecdotal and actually research stuff in terms of alternative healings, I think it's undeniable. You can't say, oh, that's just hocus pocus baloney anymore. It's like all over the place. Worst case scenarios, go to acupressurists because nobody else can heal them, and those people heal them. Like, how does that happen? And how do you call that, baloney? So I think maintaining an open mind is a key part to it, and I have a much more open mind than I did when I knew everything at age 17. So,
well said. Yeah, and science catches up with everything in the end, and Pete says the connections between causes and effects are often much more subtle and complex than we, with our rough and ready understanding of the physical world, might naturally suppose. Well said, Pete.
Yeah, that's very thoughtful.
Yep, T-Duck, Emperor Constantine declared Christmas to be celebrated on December 25th, starting in the year 336. And at that time, the kids weren't as excited about it as they are now, were they? When Constantine, okay, we're having Christmas, this thing called Christmas, right? And it's going to be on December 25th. And in years to come, people will look forward to this. I know you're not excited about it now, but believe me, people will be getting excited about this from around September in the year, before Halloween even. He wanted it to coincide with the pagan celebration honoring Saturn. There you go, Mrs. M. Saturnalia, I think you were talking about.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. Yeah, Saturnalia.
Well, I have a theory too that I have recognized the Catholic Church as being both an amazingly flexible institution and also an incredibly rigid one. And I think when it came to trying to convert everyone on the planet that they were in contact with to Catholicism, it's very much like Portuguese colonization. It wasn't about overcoming the enemy. It was about incorporating them in what they already believed into what you were trying to establish. And I think the Catholic Church said, oh, these pagans are doing these things on the solstices, like, the late December. And they're having these parties and they're going inside and they're burning fires. And it seems like a very spiritual thing they're having. Let's call Christmas there. Yeah. Because it doesn't make sense that the birth of a baby on a manger is going to happen on December 25th. That's just not going to happen. The shepherds are not going to be there. The sheep are not going to be there. They're all going to be hidden away somewhere in a warm environment. So,
although I do think our producer was born on that day, actually, if I'm not mistaken.
But he's not. Yes, he's just a very naughty boy.
I'm talking about, as the story goes, and I'm not trying to diminish the Christian belief system at all. I'm not. I'm just saying that when you use logic. When you use logic about the timing of these things, sometimes they don't make sense. So, all kinds of people get born on December 25th, but in the middle of a manger, in the middle of winter, with shepherds and sheep around to keep the baby warm, that's not, you could add that to the miracle, but in terms of just sheer logic, it's not likely. And from some of the research I've seen done, it's highly more likely that Jesus was born in March, in the spring, which makes a ton more sense.
It does.
Again, talking about cycles, birth cycles in non-human animals makes a lot of logical sense, because our babies have to survive the day they're born. So if you do that in the middle of winter, they're all going to die frozen. So it needs to happen in the spring. And I think humans, not that far removed from it, also were in these cycles of birthing conceiving and birthing at certain times of the year that made more sense than the dead of winter. Now, of course, it happens from time to time.
And now with central heating and housing, they're fornicating left, right, and center, aren't they? Babies popping out everywhere.
Yeah, got the Yule fire going. It's like, whew, let's do that. And in June or July, then all the babies start showing up. So,
well, yes, thank you for that this morning, James, and also acknowledging Catholicism as a rigid and flexible tool. Okay,
some of the most flexible religious people I've ever met have been Catholic nuns.
Same here.
Open-minded, scientifically oriented. It just astounded me when I discovered that. So
It's amazing when you lift the habits. I mean, metaphorically, I don't recommend anyone do that. But if you scratch the surface, part the habit, you will find, won't you? You can be surprised. I think. They're a lot like seasons and how we spoke about seasonal diets. Francis, on the same wavelength as you here, James. The skies were meant to be red. Oh, isn't that lovely? Reading the skies, which of course,
it's not the only one either. There's a few people talking about it.
Yeah, I think many in the church demonized it because they realized its value. I'm so glad that doesn't happen anymore. A hammer has
just look at all the navigators who were reading the sky just to figure out how to get from one place to another. I mean, that's amazing.
That's a can of worms this morning. Scientific discovery was often frowned upon as it typically flew in the face of accepted religious beliefs. I guess you could say it's these things swap and change, don't they? Musical chairs with belief systems and challenging the accepted wisdom and so on. Go on, James. Sorry.
Yes, I've heard what feels to me very reasonable understandings that somewhere right around the Renaissance or Renaissance, depending on what part of the world you're from, that and with scientists like Galileo and I can't even pull them all out of my hat right now, but the people who were making science based on what they already knew, which had been informed by religion. Again, this is one of the more negative sides of the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church, I think, realized they're not going to beat this science thing. Like, it's gone too far. We can't pull it back. We can't claim that this is all God in the way that we have been saying it. So at some point, in a very simple way, they said, okay, you can have science, but we're in charge of religion. So don't touch this. And you can do what you're doing. And that's where it began to separate. I think they're fully incorporated, fully entwined in this whole concept of we're all one and everything is connected. I don't see a separation between religious and science beliefs. I think they all, if you look closely, will be very closely connected. And that what science has done is allowed us an explanation for what religion and spirituality has been telling us for thousands of years.
Yes.
So I don't think they're separate.
And water, just like water goes back to a similar source. I think most of these things that end up seemingly polar and divisive share a same origin, don't they? And hopefully we can discover that once more and live it in these times. When you said, don't touch this, I just thought that's MC Hammer had written that, but it was...
I thought that as well.
The Catholic Church came up with it, didn't they? Don't touch this. Stay with your science, we'll do religion. Hammer time. Okay.
I love the fact that science and spirituality really do meet in the middle these days. And in truth, I think they always have done. I really love the sort of the unraveling of quantum physics, and how energy is energy. And I'm actually being called to go now, so I've got to clear off. But I have a wonderful and thoughtful day.
Thank you very much. Well, not clapping because she's going, clapping because of her fine contribution this morning. James, what's been on your mind? That's a question I usually ask you much sooner in the hour that you join us on a Monday for Mindful Migration Monday. What has been on your mind?
I have one remaining comment in regarding to science and religion, and it simply is that this is why Carl Sagan is one of my all-time heroes. He was a poet and a scientist and an avid believer in spirituality and the existence of God, however we may see that. And he was able to so eloquently put those pieces together like no one I've seen since. So this is one of the reasons that Symphony of Science video that I shared moves me so much. You get a chance to hear these scientists' philosophical and poetic ways of understanding things that can sometimes feel very dry, scientific-y. So, that's the last I had to say on that.
I wept when you suggested I watch that video with Sagan and other scientists talking about their absolute passion. It was set to some amazing music as well, some very moving music. But I can't remember what it's called even now. But I remember you sending me that, and I was very, very moved by that. So perhaps you can share that on one of our social media outlets, platforms that Tuscumpers use. That would be great. But we're still no closer to what's been on your mind, James.
It can be so random.
It
I did want to follow up a little bit. It struck me that when people were, the conversation got going about faking it till you make it in regard to the language after I was making some comments about I'm not going to pretend I don't understand. And I think it got a little mixed up in there. And I noticed a distinction that felt enough for me to want to bring it up. And that is that for me personally, I am not at all opposed to engaging and listening and trying and inventing words that I think make sense. So in some ways that might be faking it till you make it. But the point was very specific, that if someone is talking to me in Portuguese and I don't understand what they're saying, I'm not going to nod and go, oh, I'm not going to do that. I will ask a question or I'll say I don't understand. So that's the only difference that I'm talking about. And, fake it till you make it has two sides, really. One is that you're just pretending and you're getting nowhere. And the other is this is how you practice getting to where you want to be. So I think that's what people meant.